David Starobin joins us today. David's a prominent lawyer here in New York in the tri-state area. He's also formerly a New York State Senator. And my good friend, Tim Collins, joins us today. Tim is a local businessman. He's general manager of Bobby Vans, which helps us out with all anything we need for the Liquid Lunch set. Guys, thanks for joining us. Okay, I like to talk about these people out there that are unrepresented to me. I call them the purple people, right? Somebody that I know that's all red, they're freaks. You can't be 100% of everything. And when they're all blue, they're the zealots. And I think most of America is probably in that middle part, purple people. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, but I'm sure there are things socially that we all like that are typically Democratic, and I'm sure there are things like capitalism that you engage in all the time. So I want to have you guys, I want to throw out a topic, good old-fashioned Sunday morning John McLaughlin style, and you guys duke it out, give us your point of views, but at the end we shake hands, we're all friends. We have a cannoli in the green room, and we leave here as friends. David, let me start with you. The Russia probe is over, or at least that's what the Senate has said, that's what the Department of Justice has said. What say you on the Russia probe?
It never really began. There was no point behind it legally. There was no possible reason. You have to have more than naked suspicion. That's a Supreme Court precedent. You cannot just investigate a person. There was no reason. There was never a probable cause for this investigation, and the only reason it happened is political. And that's why it's not going to end. It's not the end of politics.
Tim, you and I have talked about this over a martini many times. I always bring up this, high school law class, fruit of the poisonous tree. The initial investigation was started with some really bad FISA warrants. So isn't the whole investigation dead?
No, it's not even close to dead. If it was dead, well, doth protest too much. I mean, at this point, they wouldn't have run Barr out there to run interference on the Mueller report for 5 weeks, basically saying there's no there when there's a lot of there.
Well, give us something that's there, because everyone said there's no collusion. Well, that was the investigation
right
was
now,
into.
what we're seeing is a wholesale across the board stymieing of any and all investigations. They're not responding to any subpoenas. What they really don't want is Robert Mueller testifying to the American public, conveying what he found on national TV.
Dave, let me ask you this. We've had the Department of Justice, we've had the NSA, we had the FBI, we've had almost every investigative law enforcement body in America investigate the Trump campaign, 500 subpoenas, $30 million. Why does the Congress think that they can do a better investigation than our law enforcement agencies?
What's their official title? They're politicians. That's what they're doing. They're playing politics. That's all this is about. President Trump has been investigated more than any other human being in the history of the United States. It was a 2-year investigation with $25 million, with every important person trying to investigate him from every single angle imaginable. And they found nothing that would lock up anyone in connection to the actual investigation.
Not one American, Tim. That's what he said. Not one American coordinated anything.
If not for the LLC opinion that the president can't be indicted, 800 plus former federal prosecutors have said, if not for that, if he had been any other citizen, he would now be under several indictments. There was 10 areas of obstruction that they had isolated, 6 of which meet all 3 categories of being absolutely indictable.
Intent. You think he had an intent?
He had the intent.
You think he had an intent
he had an
to
intent.
obstruct an investigation into a crime that didn't happen?
You know,
let me just tell you. Look this up at home. There's a case. The guy's name is Orlando Bouquet. He was in jail for 10 years. He broke out of jail, okay? And 15 years later, the DNA exonerated him. And you know what the DAs in that case said? We're not going to recharge this poor guy for breaking out of jail because he didn't commit the original crime. So if there's no crime, how is there obstruction?
Well, you cannot have obstruction if there is no crime. You're trying to hide something. What are you trying to hide? If there's nothing to hide, even physically, for me to be able to hide that plate has to exist. For me to be able to
watch my plate over there.
Hey,
okay?
listen, as soon as we're done, I'll grab it.
Wait, before we go, guys, we got 2 minutes left in this segment. We got a quick break coming back, and we've got plenty more Liquid Lunch for you. But just give me your forecasts. The market's down over 500 points today because of the tariffs and all this stuff. What do you think about Trump's economy?
Well, he's done it repeatedly where he decided to pick a fight with China, with Germany, with different other nations that have been taking advantage of the United States. And every time he's won. That's what you do. If you're a lawyer, if you're a politician, whoever it is that you are, you fight for your client. We are his clients. Sometimes you fight.
That's right.
And that's what happens. And in the end, we win. You know why? Because we have so much more money and everything else than China. We can take a little bit of pain.
Timmy?
China cannot.
Trump's economy.
Well, Trump's economy, to my mind, is merely a continuance of the Obama economy,
Oh,
which is going
here he
up,
goes.
up,
He had to
up,
go
up,
there. He had to
up.
go
If
there.
you take a look at the graph from 2008, where we hit our low, to now, it is a linear line.
Okay, this is where, on this break, is where I'm going to need a drink, because this guy is blaming Obama for the great economy that Donald Trump. This economy is brought to you by Donald Trump and Larry Kudlow and people who care about capitalism. And I want to thank you guys. 2020, Trump, Biden, who wins 2020?
Oh, I hate making predictions that far in advance, but
Give us one.
I mean, I'll go with Trump just because
Timmy,
that's what I want.
2020.
Joe Biden's going to win it all. He's going to run the table.
You heard it here.